So, what does it really mean to be a designer? Is it about being a wizard with a certain piece of software? Well, according to design expert Asif Shah, that's not it at all. In this explainer, we're going to break down his core philosophy, which is this: great design isn't about the tools you use, it's all about the way you think.
This quote right here gets to the heart of everything. So many of us, right, we think that if we just master Figma or Photoshop, we've made it. But Shah just cuts right through that with this simple analogy. It's so true. A fancy saw doesn't make you a master carpenter. The tool is just an instrument. The real magic, the real craft is in the mind of the person using it.
So our first big idea is all about looking beyond the tools. And this is a huge mental shift, you know? It's really what separates someone who just operates software from a true designer. Let's see what that actually looks like.
This is such a perfect way to see it. On one hand, you've got the tools. Yeah, they help you get the job done. They make you faster, more efficient, for sure. But on the other side, you have the craft, and that's all the invisible stuff, isn't it? It's the problem solving, the empathy you have for the user, that deep gut-level understanding of visual principles. That is where a designer's real value is.
Okay, so if the craft isn't really about the tool, then what is it about? Well, this brings us to the actual goal of good design. And according to Shah, we kind of need to completely reframe how we even judge whether a design is any good in the first place.
You know, Shaw points out that we often get stuck thinking about design in terms of right or wrong, like there's some secret rule book we're all supposed to follow. But he says that's way too limiting. The real question isn't, is this the right way to do it? The question is it good? So, what's the difference?
It all boils down to this. It's actually really simple. A good design works. It does the job it was meant to do. It solves the problem it was created to solve. It's not about making things pretty just for the sake of it. It's about functionality. You know that famous saying in design, form follows function? This is that in a nutshell.
And Shaw's analogy for this is just perfect. Picture the most beautiful, handcrafted, luxurious chair you can imagine. It looks stunning, but it only has 3 legs. The second you try to sit in it, whoops, it tips right over. It has completely failed at its #1 job. So it might be a work of art, but as a piece of design, it's bad. Function is king.
All right, so this laser focus on functionality brings us to one of the most common points of confusion in the design world: the difference between user interface, or UI, and user experience, or UX. People use these terms interchangeably all the time, but they are absolutely not the same thing.
Let's think of it like building a house. The overall product design, that's the whole blueprint, the entire strategy and structure of the thing. Then you have the user experience, the UX. That's how it feels to live in that house. The flow from room to room, the sense of space, whether it's comfortable and easy to be in. And the user interface, the UI, that's the stuff you see and touch, the color of the paint, the doorknobs, the light switches. It's super important, but it only really works because of that deeper experience and structure holding it all up.
So UX is that whole journey, that overall feeling. It's how it works and, crucially, how it makes you feel. The UI is just the visual layer you interact with, kind of like the skin on the product. And here's the key. You can have a beautiful, stunning UI, but a totally miserable UX. We've all been there.
Okay, so if design is a way of thinking, and not just knowing how to use tools, how do you actually learn to think that way? Well, Shaw's answer is pretty profound. You have to learn to speak its language.
This is such a powerful way to look at it. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't try to write a novel if you didn't know the alphabet or basic grammar, right? It'd be nonsense. Well, it's the same exact thing with design. You can't create something effective if you don't understand the fundamental rules of visual communication. It's all about learning the basics so you can express your ideas clearly.
And these are the letters of our design alphabet. Things like line, shape, size, color, texture. Every single visual you've ever seen, from a website to a painting, is just some combination of these core elements. They are the absolute fundamental building blocks that we use to build our message.
So if those elements are the alphabet, then composition is the grammar. Principles like balance, alignment, and hierarchy, those are the rules we use to arrange our letters into words and sentences that actually make sense. Without that grammar, all you have is a jumble of shapes, but with it, you can tell a clear, compelling story that a user gets in a split second.
So we've got the mindset, the goal, and the language. But what does this all actually look like when the rubber meets the road? Let's see how thinking like a designer creates a real-world impact that you can, quite literally, feel.
Here is a fantastic, super practical test from the masterclass that just perfectly captures this function-first way of thinking.
Before you even start dreaming about a color palette, ask yourself one simple question. Does my design work in black and white? If the structure, the hierarchy, the meaning, if all that is clear without any color, you know your foundation is solid. If it falls apart without color, then the underlying grammar is weak.
Now for a brilliant real-world example of what happens when this kind of design thinking is done right. Imagine two scenarios. In scenario A, you drive for 4 hours straight, and when you get out of the car, you feel totally fine, maybe even a little refreshed. But in scenario B, you drive for only 3 hours, but you get out feeling wiped out, sore, just exhausted.
Logically, this makes no sense, right? The shorter drive should always be the easier one. It doesn't add up. So what on earth could be the difference maker here?
The answer is user experience. That 4-hour drive was in a Mercedes, where designers and engineers had spent countless hours thinking about the driver's posture, the ergonomics of the seat, the mental fatigue of a long trip. That invisible feeling of arriving fresh instead of exhausted, that is the result of brilliant UX. It's design you feel, not just something you see.
So when we boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's really this. Design isn't software. It's a way of thinking, a way of solving problems. Function always comes before form. And honestly, the best designs are often invisible. They create an experience that's so smooth, so seamless, you don't even notice the design at all. You just feel how good it is.
Look, tools will change and trends are going to come and go, but this way of thinking is absolutely timeless. So the real question isn't, what new software should I learn? The real question to ask yourself is, how will I start looking at every chair, every app, and every car seat, and start seeing the world through the eyes of a designer?